In this video, I'm going to teach you metta meditation. Metta is a Pali word, which means loving kindness. This word in meditation comes to us through the Buddhist tradition, and in fact, is one of the 40 objects of meditation that the Buddha taught to his monks and have been passed down through the generations to us. I first learned about metta meditation as the final step of the three-step process of Goenka Vipassana at the end of a 10-day Vipassana retreat. It seems like in the West, that's the most common place to learn about this type of meditation, although you have to sit through a 10-day silent retreat to do it. Although this type of meditation has been much revered in Buddhist history, not necessarily as a vehicle to get you to the highest state of realization, because it generally won't, but it will give you the right frame of mind to get there. It's considered to be a supportive meditation, a meditation that builds up your general practice and is very useful in everyday life. In many of my past videos, I've been discussing how do you deal with negative thoughts in your life? How do you deal with detractors, with haters? And one of the tips that I gave was that you need to engender the opposite emotion. This is a tip that's given in the Buddhist canon. This is a tip that's given in the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali. And while you can force it to a certain extent, you can just by force of will get the opposite emotion in your awareness, or think of things that engender that opposite emotion naturally, people that you do like, and then transfer it to the person that you don't like, or the situation that you don't like. That's not always easy to do. What metta meditation is, it is a step by step practice that brings you in closer mental alignment to the frequency of metta, loving kindness. And so by practicing it when we're alone, it makes it easier to get into that state when we're not alone. And it reprograms our cyclic thought patterns to more generally flow to that state. We don't have to try to get there. It just happens because we have practiced it into our awareness. Begin metta meditation in a comfortable posture, just like any other meditation, preferably in a relatively quiet spot. It could be alone, or it could be with other people who are meditating as well. Start by choosing an object of your metta meditation. This object should be a person, ideally, that's still alive, that is somebody that you generally like or have respect for, who you've known personally, ideally, and is somebody that is of the same gender as you are, because we don't want to mix in romantic feelings into this. Unfortunately, in English, we only have one word for love, which mixes many different concepts. You can love your romantic partner who you just sleep with, and you can love your children, and you can love your grandparents, and you can love a record. These are all very different types of love. So, metta is not a romantic or erotic love. Metta is a generalizable feeling that is appropriate to anybody and should ideally be practiced on everybody. Avoiding people that have a different type of love, romantic love, already built in, or family members, I should have mentioned, family members also you want to avoid because there's that family bond there, which is different than metta. What you're going to do is close your eyes and imagine that object and focus on that feeling of loving kindness towards that object. Differentiate it from the other feelings that you may have and amplify it in your awareness, just focusing purely on the feeling of metta inside of you. You may need to practice this way for some time until the feeling of loving kindness stabilizes and is strong. Feel free to decide on a different object if you don't think that particular object of metta is working for you, so a different person, but keep with those original parameters until the metta has become strong and it's something that you can focus on for a good period of time, 5 or 10 minutes at least. Although serious traditional practitioners may go much longer than that. Once you're ready to move on, choose an object of metta, so a person that is indifferent to you. So a stranger. It could be somebody sitting next to you in the meditation hall who you don't particularly know. Somebody that doesn't have any strong negative associations, you don't dislike them, and somebody that you don't particularly like for any reason. Then close your eyes and focus on the metta emanating towards them. Continue with this until you've grown strong, 5 or 10 minutes again, or much longer if you prefer, maybe even up to an hour. Then you're ready to move on to a difficult object of metta meditation. So this could be a person that you particularly don't like. Doesn't necessarily have to be somebody that you know, but if it is, that works. It could be somebody that you don't like in politics, somebody that has harassed you in the past. Of course, with the field of dislike, there are actually multiple levels. So you could start out by using somebody that you just mildly dislike, that annoys you, and then focus metta on them until you're able to stabilize the metta. Then move up to something more difficult. somebody that you really despise. At this point, you can move to an historical figure. It could be the worst person that you can imagine from history, could be a politician that you really dislike. Whatever is driving you the craziest, focus metta on them. Now, when you get to this stage, you may need to work up to it. So, for instance, even though you've already stabilized metta on an object that you like, you can start by using that object for a minute or two until you stabilize it there. Then move up to somebody that's indifferent. Then stabilize metta there. Then move up to your mildly disliked person. Stabilize metta there. Then move up to your really disliked person. Stabilize metta there. Once you've been able to stabilize metta on an object that you really dislike strongly, that is a powerful weapon for you to use in your daily life when you encounter negative thoughts, when you encounter situations that you dislike. You can again engender that metta towards the situation, towards the people in the situation, and then reset your perception to where you can act powerfully in that situation. Now, I'll describe quickly the more advanced variations, which is simply developing one metta for yourself. So choose an object that you can easily gender metta to, and then switch to yourself and be very perceptive on the differences between metta for the other person and metta for yourself. And then as soon as you notice that it's changed for you, switch back to the other person. And you may need to switch back as often as you need to until you can, for a long period of time, maintain a strong, unvarying sense of metta for yourself. And our last exercise, we will move gradually to larger groups of people. So metta for maybe everybody in your vicinity, maybe everybody in your city, every man in the world, every woman in the world, possibly all the animals in your area, in your country, in the continent, across the whole globe. Feel free to play with these groupings as you desire. If you look up in the circle text, they give a wide variety of possibilities, but those exact groupings that they give aren't necessary. And in fact, it's an interesting experiment for you as a meditator to choose different groups and to see how the metta varies, how you feel towards one group versus the other. Of course, at the most advanced level, we want to be able to hold a strong, powerful metta for every living being on the entire planet. And that is the culmination of metta practice. Now, once you've reached there, metta isn't over. It's a tool for you to continually use throughout your life and throughout your meditative practice. So I highly encourage you to take at least a few minutes, if not a full 10 or 15-minute session, and start practicing metta right now. But before you go, don't forget to like and subscribe this video. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time.